Luca, New York. Luca from New York, New York.
Hello.
Are you there? Hi.
How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
All right. And I have a little story I would like to tell, which is primarily directed at any Christian watchers, listeners, maybe on.
Okay.
I have a cousin called Samantha, and she's a little bit overweight. And so she hired a diet expert who had her primarily eat oranges. And the funny thing about this diet expert is that it's not a person, it's actually a talking lizard that she keeps in a cage in her apartment. So obviously,
So
I'm
this is
hoping that
an
everybody listening to this
allegorical
will not
story you're
believe that
telling
story.
us, right?
Excuse me?
This is an allegorical story of some sort that you're telling us, right?
Of course.
Okay.
It's not, but my point is, obviously people wouldn't believe that, right? And if instead of me telling it to people over the internet or over TV, I were to write it on a piece of sheepskin, and then somebody made a copy of that, and a translation of the copy, and a copy of the translation of the copy, and 3,000 years later you were to read that same story, you still wouldn't believe it. So my question is, why is it that some people, when they read a story about a talking lizard telling my cousin Samantha to eat an orange, they don't believe it, but they read a 3,000-year-old story about a talking snake telling Eve to eat an apple, and they believe it?
Social reinforcement.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
religions don't just spring up overnight for the most part.
Yeah.
People sort of get into groups and mutually reinforce each other, and then even stuff that sounds really weird becomes plausible because everyone else believes it.
Well, and there's childhood indoctrination
Yeah.
and the fact that very few people research the origins of their religious beliefs. So
Right, but
they
I mean,
don't know where it
I
comes
understand
from.
the mechanism from the perspective of us atheists. I mean, we look at it and we see, of course, that's what's happening historically and whatnot. But my question to somebody who's a Christian that may be listening to this is, if I told you, if your teenage daughter came up to you and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm pregnant, but it's not from my boyfriend of the last year and a half. I somehow got pregnant. It's not from sex." They wouldn't believe it. I can understand how, like, a Bronze Age farmer or nomad or whatever might be told something and they'll believe it because their father believed it and their grandfather believed it. But you have, like, really well-educated, otherwise rational and intelligent people who completely segregate the portion of their rational thinking when it comes to believing fairy tales about Christianity. And it's just incredible to me that they don't believe Red Riding Hood and the talking big bad wolf, but they believe in the virgin birth and in the talking snake and all this stuff. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, the world is full of logical fallacies waiting to be believed, and the truth is, people aren't nearly as rational as they think they are in general, and I think that goes for you and me. That there are probably some very stupid things that we wind up believing, whether we're aware of it or not. I don't generally think that people believe in religion because they're morons, but because there's a complex group of ideas that are competing for their attention. And people are always using shortcuts and rules of thumb to decide what to believe. And, some ideas take hold which don't really make a lot of sense, but they stick around anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I don't mind, let me put it this way. I'm a musician, right? And so sometimes right before I got a big show, I'll say to myself, "Come on, man, you can do it. You're the greatest guitarist in the world," something like that, right? I say an obvious lie to myself, and it makes me perform and do my job better, right? So I don't mind if somebody says, "Oh yeah, it's Jesus that wants me to be a good and charitable person. It's Jesus that wants me not to kill." I don't mind if that makes them be not killers and not thieves and good charitable people. I don't mind. But just like I know in the back of my mind that actually, by no stretch of the imagination, am I the greatest guitarist in the world, they should know that the guy couldn't walk on water and his mom had sex with her husband 9 months before he was born. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, sorry. I know it's harder for you guys to talk to somebody who agrees with you, so.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling. And
All right. Can I say one other thing about the previous caller?
Real quick.
Like, why is it so much of a problem to say I don't know?
Well, he eventually got to it.
Oh, yeah, and,
Right.
and of course they always wind up saying I don't know just about something else, and then they pretend that it makes sense to have injected that God in before the step of saying
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Okay, doke.
All
Okay,
right.
guys. Thanks so much.